tonight, the final stretch as we inch closer to the big day when Toronto chooses a new mayor.
Gotta do my research.
I haven't heard enough about it. I haven't heard enough about the candidates. I know there's a lot of them. That's all I know is that there's a ton of them.
Candidates vying for the top job out in full force this weekend, hoping to make an impression and woo the undecided. Plus,
I'm gonna either have to figure out another route or just maybe start biking.
major changes for TTC riders in the East End, what you need to know ahead of the Monday morning commute, and
it is Father's Day and it's Pride, so happy Father's Day, happy Pride to everyone.
Plenty of fun happening across southern Ontario, from festivals to food, football, and fancy cars.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Thanks for joining us. The big countdown is on until the big day when Toronto chooses a new mayor. This weekend, candidates vying for the top job were cramming in as many handshakes and campaign promises as possible. But when it comes to the voters, many say they're still undecided. Here's Tyler Cheese.
A week out from the by-election, it's time for some to start doing their homework.
Gotta do my research. Yeah. See who I think can make this city really nice.
While some say they've already exercised their civic duty,
I've already voted for Olivia Chow during pre-election voting, which I think a lot of Torontonians have gotten to do. Very excited.
others don't really seem to care.
It's really not been like crossing my mind, to be honest. I haven't heard enough about it. I haven't heard enough about the candidates.
But that's not stopping the mayoral hopefuls from campaigning in full force. Frontrunner Olivia Chow is promising to open wading pools for families earlier in the year.
The kids get comfortable in the water and learn that water safety is a really important skill. So wading pools create community among parents and kids.
Mark Saunders was scheduled to speak on what he'll do to stop car thefts in the city, but instead continued his campaign against Chow.
It feels like life in Toronto is getting harder. It's scarier, it's more expensive. It will be even tougher if Olivia Chow is in as mayor.
Meanwhile, Mitzi Hunter announced a plan to champion a creative hub for the arts.
It's a sector that we have to pay close attention to, and we need to support our arts community. We need to celebrate it, and my plan focuses on positioning Toronto as a global creative city.
And Anthony Furey spent the afternoon canvassing in North York.
When I say that I'm going to hire 500 new police officers to bring about a visible presence on our streets, in public transit, in our communities, that really resonates with people.
Other top candidates on the trail today include Anna Bailau, who's vowing to improve sports fields across the city by making them more accessible, and Brad Bradford, who's promising to build more cricket facilities. The final week of the campaign kicks off tomorrow morning. The election is Monday, June 26th. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's bring in Toronto City Hall reporter now, Sean Jeffords. Sean, we keep hearing this phrase, change election. What does that even mean, and is that really what we're having here?
Shannon, I think it's a great question, and we may not know the answer to that until the campaign is done and all the votes have been counted. You know, a typical change election involves an incumbent running on their record and a candidate proposing another very dramatically different direction. And in this race, we don't have the incumbent, but we do have a number of top-tier candidates really pitching themselves as agents of change. You know, I think it's possible, though, that they, in some degrees, represent the institution of the city or the status quo. That's really in the eyes of the beholder, right? So I think what we'll see, though, after Election Day, a month, 6 months down the road, as people take stock of what motivated voters to get out to the polls and what motivated them to vote for specific candidates. At that point, we may be able to say, you know, there was a change here. I think the thing that really casts a bit of doubt as to whether this is a change election or not is the results last fall, where voters really voted in large numbers for Mayor John Tory. And at the time, he was very much running on his record and running on continuing along the path that he had set out back in 2014. So, you know, it'd be really interesting to see what the results yield on Election Day.
Advanced polling saw big numbers compared to previous elections. Even the final day broke a record. What do you make of that?
Shannon, it could be a really optimistic sign, I guess, and maybe it runs a bit counter to what we view as the conventional wisdom on by-elections, that they will have low voter turnout, that people generally are less engaged because they weren't perhaps expecting an election. And you know, what we saw over the course of the 6 days of advance voting were bigger numbers than expected, a 12% increase over last fall's vote in the advanced polls then, and frankly there were 2 less days this time around, so maybe a little less opportunity for people to get out to vote. But what we saw were 116,000 people in Toronto come out to these polls, and on the last day specifically around 36,000 people, so they set a record coming out to vote on that day. So hey, we'll have to see if that continues on June 26th, and if voter turnout is up, and if people are plugged in, maybe more plugged in than we thought.
Sean, we're heading into the home stretch. What does the last week look like?
I think you're going to see a lot of different things, probably a flurry of announcements, maybe some more endorsements, and teams will really be behind the scenes trying to work to get out their vote. You know, they're going to make that pitch to the undecided voters who are still hanging out there, maybe on the fence. And, you know, those teams will want to try to have them turn out at the polls to cast a ballot. That's the really hard, you know, work that's done on the ground to deliver a vote on Election Day. And that really could make the difference.
Thanks, Sean. We appreciate the insight. As always, he's reporting for us from Toronto City Hall. To some other stories we're following closely now. A man was rushed to hospital with life-threatening injuries after a 2-alarm fire in Scarborough this afternoon.
We had a fire, reported smoke coming from a unit. Our crews responded, quickly found police already working on a patient outside the unit. Vital signs absent.
Officials say flames broke out in a bedroom on the 2nd floor of this apartment near Morningside and Lawrence. Crews were able to knock it down quickly. Investigators are now working to figure out the cause. Police in Sudbury are searching for a man accused in 3 recent homicides who managed to escape from the local jail. Joel Roy is described as 5'6" with a medium build, 150 pounds, with green eyes and shoulder-length brown hair that could be in a ponytail. Now, the 33-year-old also has a scar on his right cheek and tattoos on his chest and right arm. Police say if you see him, call 911 and do not approach him. Well, it's maybe not the kind of news you want to hear on a Sunday night, but big changes are coming to several TTC routes in the East End, meaning your Monday morning commute could be a little messy. Meg Roberts has more on what you need to know.
If you find yourself here in Toronto's East End, you might want to prepare for some delays. The TTC is kickstarting some major infrastructure projects, which means buses and streetcars will grind to a halt at some pretty busy stations. Some of the biggest headaches may hit here at Broadview Station. Starting today, there's no bus or streetcar service from here to Gerrard Street East, and that's until at least November. Crews are working on replacing the streetcar tracks and overhead power lines. Over here on Coxwell, crews also tackling the tracks, pumping the brakes on streetcars here until July. And the bus and streetcar loop here at Main Street Station is closed for critical infrastructure work until September. That's so crews can build a new bus bay. The changes catching many off guard.
A lot of people are confused if you don't know about it. You don't know which way you're going or where you have to get off.
I think there should be more notice about things like these. Like, as I said, like, I'm learning today on my regular commute. Like, why am I only learning about this now?
I didn't know that any of this happened, to be honest with you. It's a little bit of a surprise.
To help ease some of the confusion, the TTC has created this video.
The TTC, in partnership with the City of Toronto, is undertaking critical infrastructure renewal and upgrades.
But it hasn't prevented people from scrambling to find alternative forms of transportation.
I commute back and forth from my place to my partner's place, and it's crazy. I can't walk 3 kilometers from here to get to his condo.
I'm gonna either have to figure out another route or just maybe start biking since it's the summertime. But once it gets colder, I'm not sure. It definitely will change things.
For a complete list or to find your specific route, you can head to the TTC's website for more information. Meg Roberts, CBC News, Toronto.
If you're outside today, you may have noticed the smell of smoke in the air. This is a look at a slightly hazy Riverdale Park this afternoon. Yes, after a brief reprieve, wildfire smoke is yet again settling over our region. Let's bring in Sophia, the one who warned us that this was on the way. Here it is.
Just the bearer of the news. You got it. Hopefully you're able to bring in that Father's Day barbecue indoors today, because we are dealing with that high particulate matter back in the atmosphere again. It's not going to be as bad as we saw the week before last. That's the bottom line, but it is still going to be present for the next 24 hours. We're back to looking at satellite imagery of that smoke coming in, back to looking at the special air quality statements as well, including for those of you in the city of Toronto, Hamilton, Niagara Falls, and just east of Parry Sound in Sudbury. Over the next little while, we're going to be watching a lot of this as well. And you can see the line that smoke took right from those fires in Western Quebec down to our neck of the woods, highly concentrated, because we had this northeast wind that brought the smoke down to our neck of the woods again. And then the winds are quiet and stagnant over the next 24 hours. So it's really just setting up shop on top of us for the next little while. Be aware of some of the common symptoms, the sore and watery eyes, the sinus irritation and that scratchy throat, and more of the serious symptoms if you are susceptible to any respiratory issues like that severe cough or dizziness. Here's the good news. Monday morning, not so bad. Monday evening, that smoke spreads out again, and by Tuesday morning, we are all pretty much in the clear. The rest of the long-range forecast includes building heat, dryness, and even humidity, and even a surprise spot in northern Ontario for our national hotspot midweek. I'll tell you about that in the long range.
Okay, start guessing now. We'll talk to you later. You could say it's the unofficial start to summer, from festivals to tons of city programming getting underway this weekend. There was no shortage of fun ways to celebrate Father's Day.
It is Father's Day and it's Pride, so happy Father's Day, happy Pride to everyone. We're here with Pride Toronto at the St. Lawrence Market at Pride Brunch. So come on down, get some brunch. It's good for you.
Oh yeah, you heard him. St. Lawrence Market kicking off its summer programming with the Sunday Variety Vintage Market and Pride Brunch. It featured everything from live music to dance performances and outdoor food and drink vendors. And calling all car lovers, Canada's largest luxury car show also taking place today. More than 100 vehicles lining the red carpet on Bloor as part of the annual Yorkville Exotic Car Show. This year's event was in support of Melanoma Canada.
Others really cooperated with us. We haven't had any rain. The music is incredible. We have music from Italy, local artists. Everyone is enjoying it. It's it's a really nice festival to come to.
Good day to be outside. Today was the last day of Taste of Little Italy. The 3-day annual festival featured live music, multicultural vendors, carnival rides, and of course, lots. Welcome back. The small city of Dauphin, Manitoba is beginning a slow and painful journey towards healing. Many residents finding comfort in their faith and each other as they gathered for Sunday services today, the first since that highway crash took 15 lives and shattered so many more. Cameron McIntosh is there.
A somber Father's Day Sunday. Preparing for Mass, Father Michel No is having trouble finding the words.
What are people asking of you, or what are people saying to you?
Well, there isn't so much the words themselves that is the most important thing. It's the heaviness of the mood.
The mood of a small prairie city shaken by an accident 2 hours down the highway, now marked by flowers, that killed 15 local people, still to be identified officially, and left 10 more in hospital, seriously injured. Outside another church, Manuel Nakonechny can't get his mind off it.
It's just so hard to comprehend.
He drives for the bus company involved in the crash, and is a friend of the bus driver who police say was seriously injured.
And I wake up in the middle of the night and it's just totally right there. There's just no getting away from it.
Well, it's been horrible. I mean, most of the people, I either know them. 2/3 of the people that were on the bus, I know who they are. It's very sad.
Inevitable comparisons have been made to the 2018 Humboldt Broncos crash that killed 16. The hockey team was a face and focus of the community, which rallied in a very public way.
You really have 25 individual families who are grieving.
Dauphin City Councillor Randy Daly says this feels different, more private, family-focused.
People aren't sure what to do, right? I mean, we don't have complete answers.
All that we have.
Back at St. Viator's, Father No says the community is still absorbing it all.
How do you think the community moves forward then?
I'm going to use the classic word, it's a mystery. But as it happens, we will deal with it as it happens.
While there are no firm plans for a community vigil or event at this point, community leaders say that will likely happen at some point in the future after all the victims have been identified. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Dauphin, Manitoba.
In other news, WestJet is reportedly about to ground another airline. This time it's Sunwing. As Jennifer Yoon shows us, this comes less than 2 months after finalizing its takeover and vowing to keep it flying as a separate operation.
After almost 20 years, the end of popular discount carrier Sunwing Airlines comes as an unhappy surprise to these travelers.
I'm actually very surprised.
That's really sad, actually. When shopping for a vacation, I saw that Sunwing had the best prices out there.
After acquiring Sunwing last month, an internal memo outlined WestJet executives' plans to shut down Sunwing and absorb its routes. A spokesperson for WestJet says Sunwing Vacations will continue to operate under the WestJet banner. As for Sunwing Airlines, operations are expected to shut down completely within 2 years. Just last week, WestJet announced it was folding discount carrier Swoop into its regular fleet.
Planes are full, fares are high. Airlines are feeling much more comfortable and flexing their muscle to kind of look at trying to consolidate, reduce the competition.
This industry expert says it's bad news for consumers.
We might be going down a slippery slope here of situations where carriers are consolidating, prices will go up. And there might be a need for some oversight to make sure that consumers' pricing doesn't go a little crazy.
But not everyone agrees.
I think at the end of the day, this is a good thing.
This travel agent thinks the merger could actually reduce the delays and cancellations that plagued Sunwing for months.
I think if they've got this big, strong fleet of aircraft available that they can move around, I think this will be better for the consumer and will be more seamless. Bear in mind that WestJet still has a major big competitor in the business, and that's Air Canada.
Just the latest shakeup in Canada's fiercely competitive airline industry as the busy travel season only ramps up. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Montreal.
The Toronto Argos kicking off their 150th anniversary season against the Hamilton Ticats tonight in front of a hometown crowd at BMO Field.
So excited. How they go back to back and win Grey Cups.
Still a strong team, and we're going to take it again.
We'll be Grey Cup winners for 2024.
Okay, before kickoff, there was some very important business to attend to. The 18th Grey Cup banner was unveiled at a pre-game ceremony in honor of the Argos' victory over Winnipeg last November. The first 10,000 fans to enter the stadium went home with a Grey Cup championship replica ring, and the celebrations just kept on rolling. Argos winning tonight 32-14. Music, food, and handcrafted goods all on full display today at the Indigenous Arts Festival in Toronto. This comes after yesterday's traditional powwow. CBC Toronto is a media partner.
Today at Fort York National Historic Site, we have the wonderful Indigenous Arts Festival, which we do every year in partnership with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We have the most amazing day of contemporary and traditional Indigenous music, as well as wonderful artisan vendors and delicious food. What we're trying to do here is really reflect the amazing communities that we have all around us and honor the Indigenous communities who have been on this land for time immemorial.
It's Father's Day, and we're looking for something different to do in the city, since we're inside the city.
And my wife says, oh, let's go to Fort York. So it was a good thing coming today.
I think it's really important that everyone learn about the Indigenous people of the land that we're living on. You know, we are living on stolen treaty land, and you know, part of that is learning that respect and embracing these kinds of traditions and listening.
Sophia's back now. You got us all on the edge of our seats. I'm thinking of our Northern Ontario days. That's where we met. Can I say Sault Ste. Marie?
I think you got to go a little bit more north. I teased you all with where the midweek national hotspot will be. Keep your guesses coming. Here's the teaser coming up. It's going to be warmer than down south in Cuba, warmer than many places in the Sunshine State. You have to look far, far, far up into northeastern Ontario. Moosonee, folks, 34 on Wednesday, even to the north of that. Places like Attawapiskat will be feeling into the mid-30s. It's this ridge of high pressure coming over from the prairies, bringing intense heat to northeastern Ontario, even northwestern Ontario throughout this week. All fun and games and a beautiful sunny forecast, but we're also talking about a dire fire situation. So feels like nearing 40 and overnight lows in the 20s is not going to be good when we're talking already about very, very dry land and, of course, smoke that is already filtering into our neck of the woods. So some interesting, potentially record-breaking stats there. Meanwhile, with an east wind down south midweek, we will be a good 5 degrees cooler than even into northeastern Ontario, north of where we got our start together in Sudbury, Shannon. Meanwhile, down here, we will still have quite the bit of humidity, feeling like the mid-30s for a few days midweek, no rain until maybe next weekend when we see each other again. And have a look at some of our overnight lows nearing the 20s as well. So a very hot, a very dry week. The sprinklers will need to get some exercise, and you'll have to get those tea times booked early, Shannon.
Oh yeah, official start to summer coming soon.
You got it. We'll be ringing it in.
Okay, thanks, Sophia. That's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.